3.
Perfect.
Okay. So, and here we start. Live from two parts of Washington, it's Inane Blather! Is that how I should start every single episode?
I thought we already agreed that was not. But we'll talk. We can edit this in post.
Wow, as soon as we've started, now I'm getting terrible audio quality from you in Discord.
Perfect.
So everyone knows that we're just starting out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, now we're just sitting here in two separate rooms on two sides of Washington.
State.
How's...
Not DC.
I mean, I'm not... Like we would try to be cool by saying we're from Washington, D.C.
Well,
that's what people want to hear,
since...
is another podcast for people from D.C.
That's what people from D.C. think people want to hear.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think they're all a little more self-loathing than that.
Let's hope so.
So, how was your day? How is the weather? You know I was going to ask that.
How's the weather? The weather today was actually so unbelievably perfect. I could see Mount Rainier so clearly on my drive today. Just, I mean, stand out, not a cloud in the sky, totally blue. Iconic Pacific Northwest view today. It was phenomenal. So it put me in a really good mood, actually. It is like the word, awesome gets used a lot because it's a cool word. It's an awesome word. No, but it's like to inspire awe.
I use it way too much.
Yeah.
I know that.
And I, it stuck with me, actually. One of the veterinarians I used to work for, I said something was awesome, and he was like, God is awesome. And whatever about it being God, but it's like, that's a good point about the word awesome, because it fills you with awe. Like jaw-dropping. Sometimes Mount Rainier here can be just like, you can feel like why it would be a spiritual thing for peoples that lived here. It's a huge mountain that's just, I mean, that's such a presence in the, especially when you're in a valley here. It's really beautiful. How was your day? How was the weather?
What's a better thing to describe with that word than a mountain itself?
Yeah.
And like they say, our God is an awesome God. But, I mean, my God is, the devil. But,
yeah.
he's the only one that I truly worship. And by the devil, I mean Elon Musk. But
well, yeah. I mean,
let's just give everyone the wrong idea.
Perfect.
If anyone ever listens to the show and they come back to the first episode, they're like, what?
Elon Musk,
are these people?
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's our Musk is an awesome Musk. He reigns from Twitter up. Busk. But, well, over here it was swelteringly hot. For the two people that listen, we're in the best state in the world. I mean, even for those other countries.
State of denial? Heyo!
Yeah. Or, including Estados Unidos de Mexico.
See.
I don't know. There's probably a cool state there, but... I mean, probably the only cool state in Mexico is probably Chihuahua, just because you get to say that all the time.
Chihuahua. Yeah.
But,
hey, man, that's what you're
it
going to
was
say.
Like, it hit 100 degrees. It was really hot. And I came home and just immediately started blasting the AC in this studio room so that I knew that if we started recording tonight, that you
wouldn't die of heat
exhaustion. I could turn
exhaustion?
off the AC. Yeah, I'm already getting kind of hot. So, so I'm sitting here wearing my brand new Muscular Class RM Brown
shirt. The Muscular Class. I hope you can really hear my cat playing in the background too, because he's being quite rambunctious. Anyways, I'm wearing a swimsuit.
Well, we'll see with your snowball mic, yeah. I'm wearing a YouTuber's merch, and you're wearing a swimsuit and a Pasco Auto Wrecking hat.
Hell yeah.
So you gotta, either way, we're both supporting local businesses.
Absolutely, a family-owned local business. And this is original artwork behind me. So.
Oh, everyone at home can see that. So.
I'm just telling people how cool I am.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Yeah, I'm wearing. I only shop local. I have this is a one-of-a-kind custom-made artwork behind me. I live.
My girlfriend did it.
I live, and I live in a hole.
Yeah.
With the animals.
That's what's
yeah, and my cat that you hear in the background, I don't like to call her my cat.
Yeah, he's his own creature. He can make his own decisions.
Oh, him.
Yeah, it's a him.
Hey, you know what? It's just because I didn't assume your cat's gender. So.
And everything is a she to begin with, I guess, right? Right? That's why you got nipples?
Everything's... yeah, everyone's got nipples.
Come on!
Everyone's a she.
There we go.
That's where what this should all come down to.
Everyone's a woman.
We're changing genitalia. That is now secondary sex characteristics.
Yeah.
And the
nipples?
Primary sex characteristics are just nipples.
Everyone's got
mammals. Everyone's a female. And some females have penises.
And totally.
Some
females identify as men.
Big fat boobs. Yeah.
Yeah, but you all got nipples, unless you have them removed, pretty much. And my cat, though, he does have nipples. I was noticing them today because he's all black, and like when he's laying on his back, like you could just kind of see him poking out, and it is a funny thing that you got nipples too.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say mine were poking out when I had the AC blasting. So. But hey, and that would, you know what? Then the only kind of gender dysmorphia that we would have would be having nipples and feeling like you shouldn't have nipples.
Yeah.
And so then instead of extensive procedures, it would just be a Band-Aid. And like we wouldn't have to worry about
a Band-Aid fix could actually be the solution. Wow.
Oh. Yeah. Well, it's only a Band-Aid solution. It's like, well, I mean, exactly, 2 Band-Aids, you know?
That's funny.
And it's like, if you just take everyone... I mean, no matter what the joking solution is, the only way that it would come to that is having some sort of ability to sit down literally everyone in the world and be like, sit down! Shut up! This is how it is now.
Yeah.
Like if people just had one, kind of Christ-like or Trump-like figure, if you will,
cult-like,
kind of Christ-like in his own way.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's him.
This is Washington's premier alt-right podcast that you're listening to right now. So
that's us. Gotcha. I was gonna say though that Ripple Nipple.
See if I had drops on the podcast,
because that's from
Ripple
Rick and
Nipple.
Morty, where they have a race war over Ripple, and so there could be like innies, outies, brownies, pinkies. You'd still be all racist about nipples, anyways. Probably some stuff would come down to that.
Even at least we just wouldn't have misandry or misogyny.
Yeah, it would be
transphobia.
Different.
But we would still have race wars
over nipples.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We still. I guess race is still. That still would be a problem for people. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm having such a tough time with your audio right now.
I was thinking it would be nice to have like something that would be showing you what you just said, like in text form, like closed captioning.
God.
Because
I don't understand anything. Given the first 1.8 million listeners to this, a little peek behind the curtain, as you will.
I was saying it'd be nice to have closed captioning happening right now for me, because I'm a little bit stoned. Sometimes I can kind of forget what we're talking about, and because we keep having stuff to say and I want to go back and talk about it. So it'd be nice to have a script, a text, a transcript of what we're saying also to keep us...
Yeah, well...
What was I talking about?
Yeah,
no, I'm
cool.
just kidding.
That's your job. afterwards. Yeah. Transcript.
That's
what
a good
were we
idea.
talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But
Remind me, I thought of that.
I mean,
I can just type up some notes.
that's my thing. Is the tangents. That's what makes me feel the dumbest if I smoke weed, right? Is like sometimes it's an actual feeling of like, wow, I just feel stupid. But more often than not, I feel like my synapses are firing more than usual, but I just have no control over it.
Absolutely.
That's like, and then as soon as you have the thought of, how do I bring this conversation back to what I wanted to talk about now that I remember it? Then you're thinking about that question, like, how do I bring this conversation? Is a conversation strange?
Yeah, like seriously, I love.
Like,
I love it,
and
but it is hard.
You forget.
It seriously, and combining that like with.
That's what she said.
Nice. What'd she say? No. Combining that with Molly or acid or whatever, some other drugs that like you're going to be thinking like that's even amplified, like those kinds of questioning, like, and just synapses firing or whatever the fuck is going on when you're taking those kinds of drugs. Seriously, it would be like I'm on this total roll of very articulately expressing myself, and like literally mid-sentence, it would like cut out. Like I just had no control over the thoughts. Like they were well put together, but it was like synapses jumping from one to the next and suddenly had nowhere to go because I just totally, completely forgot what I was saying. Like mid-sentence. And I was like, I think this must be how it feels to have some like neurodivergent behaviors that people, when they talk to themselves and then just come back to reality, it's like, it was really a strange...
But also at the same time, you could kind of just say, it's like, yeah, when
and
I'm
I was
on
high.
a bunch of psychedelic drugs, and you're like, I feel like I'm kind of neurodivergent.
Ill.
It's like, yeah, right now, you are, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's not, because it's not mentally ill. That's what I mean. It's because it's not. It was really interesting, and it really gave me, like, it made me really think about this guy I had just talked to down by the water, the river here, he looked like he probably didn't...
Down by the bay.
Yeah, he probably didn't live somewhere like in a home,
farmer.
And he was, yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of literally anything else from that song. Dead air. That's what's great for podcasts. Down by the bay.
Yeah, down by the bay where the watermelons grow. Back to his home. He did not have.
Oh. That's probably true, actually.
Mean.
Yeah, it was sad, actually.
But
anyways,
so it's but that whole cutting off mid thought, it's funny because it just reminded me of that being like the same end and taking a completely different route to when I got really stoned with you, and I had something to say and I thought it was funny, and as soon as I was like, oh, that's like, man, it'd be funny if, and as everyone's looking at me, then I was just like, nah, that's too hard. Like, I suddenly realized I was going to have to undertake like 4 sentences, and I was like, nah. And it's like, you guys would have liked it.
Yeah.
Whatever anecdote I just had.
Because it's like kind of, there is like a backstory behind, well, I was thinking this, which led me to this, which led me to this, which led me to this. And in your head, it can happen so incredibly quickly, almost like simultaneously. And then to say it out loud.
And then the end result, with no context or journey to it, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're like, yeah, like bears have nipples. And it'd be like, if you didn't have all the lead into that, it'd be like, yeah, they do.
That's like on Scrubs. That's JD. He has this whole inner monologue.
That funny?
Bears have nipples? I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? And
sir, scene. Yes, sir. That's how the movie went, right?
Yeah. And he was like...
And he just got down.
That's what milk sounds like.
When it comes out of Robert De Niro, it's like every time. So, and it's funny how...
what?
You know what? I mean, even if it's completely uninteresting to anyone, including us, what we're going
As it
over
should
right
be.
now. I was thinking, I was like, okay, we can strive to be, come town, but less funny, Chapo, but less smart, and there was a third one in there somewhere, but it's like just the worst. No,
The worst.
But anyway, but just the fact that as soon as I sat down before we recorded, and I was like, man, I had this whole thing that I was thinking about that I was like, oh, that'll be something we can talk about. It'll be a good jumping off point. The whole weather thing that we talked about months and months ago. And it was going through my head, and I actually had some really interesting thoughts. And you had said, well, we should write some stuff down ahead of time. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm not going to write anything down. It's like,
I'm going to remember it.
Yeah, it's like, no, I did not think I would remember it.
Oh,
I'm just
you
like,
just want it to be
I
improvisational?
want to go off the cuff. But
Well,
if you want to write stuff down, and then I can just be the blatherer, then whatever. But I don't think Inane Blather really lends itself to outlines.
Structure. I think that having some sort of idea maybe of like some possible topics, but I think that also I want to work on my improv skills, and like I want to be wittier, and you get that way by practicing. That's something I would like to intentionally.
I can really improv off of that when I can't hear what you're saying. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. That's kind of the challenge in all of this.
Should just get you a better computer.
No.
I bet it's just because your computer's kind of old and slow.
Well, that's something we can talk about, because Kelsey, I work for her, and like we want me to have
on the podcast. No.
Yeah, let's talk about our finances and like buying a computer together on this.
I'm like, it's just quiet with clicking sounds. I'm like, okay, go up to the Apple button and go to System Preferences. And you're like, okay. wait, it's just a spinning pinwheel.
Yeah,
and
what is this?
Everyone's like, this is so real.
Yeah.
This is what's been missing from my life ever since I got out of quarantine.
Yeah.
It's real people with real issues.
Yeah.
Real white people.
Yeah, Windows
nothing.
users and Mac users. Yeah, interesting stuff, guys.
Yeah. You're like, well, it is funny, though, how we're doing this, and hopefully this will come together and the quality will be somewhat decent, because I'm using my computer is 16 years old. That's insane. It's kind of modded out so it can have some modern stuff, and it's upgraded a bit.
Do you know what I just realized? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think my computer's really loud, and it's right next to the microphone. So it might be like in the background the whole time. So
that's fine.
This is a test run. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing that said your first podcast will be awful. Your first song will be awful. Everything you try at first will be awful. So just do it and get it over with. Because it will be.
You just have to do it. That's one thing. That's kind of why it was so labor intensive for me, but also, felt like more of an accomplishment when I did a podcast previously. Yeah, listeners may know me from the
Law and Order
Limitless
SVU.
Range. Limitless Range NBA podcast. But that was a thing that for me, just knowing some basics, I was like, for not very much money, we could have audio quality that's better than. I mean, it drove me crazy when the shutdown first happened, and like I'd be watching ESPN, and suddenly everyone's in quarantine, and everyone's just like
awful.
It's like
Zoom calls.
Like one person is in the back office of a $5 million set, the other person's at home, and the microphone they're using on their Zoom calls is their AirPods.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
AirPods. It was so weird.
I scraped together like $500 together, and we had better audio quality than a lot of like professional NBA podcasts. I mean, our podcast was just pretty good, honestly. It's just we couldn't put as much time into it as I wanted. But it's like, it can be done. And people think it's snobby, but having it's a podcast. It's an audio medium. Like,
yeah, that's how.
I like I as soon as I heard that like Stavros Halkias had an NBA podcast, I was like, oh my god, that is what I need in my life. And I went and I listened. I was like, what the fuck happened to the audio quality? Oh yeah, when he's not with Nick Mullen on Cumtown, who's like an insane person who probably really, really cares about the audio quality because he's
OCD.
And no, I was just say an autist, but you could take that as a posh accent or no,
or as a neurodivergent.
Yeah, or as being neurodivergent.
Maybe
no,
he's that guy I saw down at the beach.
But it's maybe that was him. But he was in Portland recently.
He was awkward.
But yeah, it's like I would hear someone that I really want to hear from, and it's like, well, I don't want to listen to an hour of this. I don't want to listen to 40 minutes of this, even if it's insightful NBA talk. There's so much content out there. I don't have to waste my time with something that I'm going to think the entire time, why does it sound bad?
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. Yeah, that's
so yeah, in other words, roundabout way of saying, yeah, I'm going to be really upset when I get your audio.
It's going to be so we'll just know that.
No, there are ways around it.
But there's also like this is a trial test run, you know, like there's all kinds of things that we wouldn't have thought about at first anyways, that it's like some minor adjustments could make, like you're saying, a big difference. But I don't have the more I'm hearing this computer, it's like
I can actually hear it on your mic now. Yeah. There's ways that I could kind of cut some of it out, but you know, I mean, I could just cut out your track completely. That's fine. It'll just,
I mean, it's not necessary.
Like, this really is Inane Blather. Is just some dude talking to an imaginary person.
I think I would like to start everyone with the weather, because that is the first thing I like to talk to people about. And
that's one thing that I thought about too.
I think it's natural for me anyways. So, and yeah, today was a great day to do it because it really was. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Perfect. It was like maybe 80 degrees today. Yeah.
And now that we're talking about it, it kind of reminds me of the thoughts that I was having on it. So, without remembering everything we discussed previously, it was a long time ago, but, you know, our 1.8 million listeners might need to know that we talk often via voice memo, and we had this long, great conversation about why people talk about the weather and what's so strange about the reaction of like hating small talk or chit chat or making fun of like, oh, it's cold out there, huh? And it's we all inane. Know. It's like, it's just inane bullshit. Blather. But it's like, but it's one of the very few things, no matter what, that it's happening to all of us. We're all experiencing it. There's no denying it, you know, and it's like, that's what you can talk to literally anyone if it's in person and you can agree on that. And that's something that does not really, the tangent that my mind was going on earlier was about that's why the more room for disagreement in general, no matter how polite a conversation may be, that's why the more taboo the subject becomes, why you don't talk politics or you don't talk about this and that.
And strongly held beliefs too. I mean,
and the reason that it's a problem is just because it's literally a case of people experiencing the reality around them differently. Like, you know, different political ideologies truly see reality in a different way. When you're talking about the weather, it's like, man, it's really raining hard. I mean, and if you have the person that's like, this is nothing, you should have seen how it rained in my hometown, everyone agrees. It's like, I don't care. That immediately kind of turns me off of it. It's like, cool. Yeah. I thought we were just making small talk about something, you know, because they're taking a different angle to it. And I wonder if the weather is the last vestige of unity we will ever have as human beings, and even that is under attack.
I know.
Because it becomes
exactly
political.
What I was thinking about. It's exactly what I'm saying, where people are disagreeing about the weather and, like, the cause of it. Yeah, like, why there's wildfires, why there's these huge storms going up the coast inland. You know, there's, like...
Yeah, if I have to have a snowy day and someone says anytime again, so much for this climate change stuff, I'm going to commit fucking murder.
Or, like, seasons. It's like we're going through seasons and stuff. It's like, but you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about, for one thing, because there's these people who do know what they're talking about. There's a difference between climate and weather. Another thing, like...
Yeah,
and
but I'm saying...
just how people have even, like, it... You're right. Like, they're like objective physical reality is really called into question with the weather, about things being really extremely hot, extremely dry, extremely rainy. Like, and like another, you know, using the word awesome is like, it means something. Using extremely, it's extreme. Like, the weather is
literally, it's just like that.
Literally. I mean, there is no question as to whether or not that's true, but people, and I don't know, yeah, where does that come from? Like, something that you have no fucking idea about at all. Like, what do you know about weather? Like, explain to me the water cycle. And then we can maybe talk, but...
It's like, bitch, you know just as much as I do, we both don't know what a barometer does.
I don't even know what kind of clouds those are,
let alone,
you know?
let alone climactic changes.
Over
like,
eons, yeah.
It's like, how does a barometer measure pressure? Well,
yeah.
And that's the thing.
What's
it's
wind?
Like,
answer me that. Tell me, what's wind? And you'll not have an answer for me? And it's like, why the
problem.
Fuck would I listen to you? Doug. No.
What's a wind? It's the absence of stillness. No.
Oh, brother.
But,
yeah, some climate change denier is going to know the word
of
absence. No.
Yeah, they had it on their fucking science class report card all the time.
Nice.
Hey, but that's the problem with the climate change debate in general. It's like, okay, our talks of the weather are a barometer for measuring the pressure of the political climate, surrounding climate change. Oh, yes. God. If only people could see you right now. No, no, but
Insane Blather.
Insane blabber. But you know, the more of a noticeable underlying feeling of politicization there is in our stalwart of unity that I say is small chit-chat about the weather. That's what I stand by, is that shows where America is
can't even talk about the goddamn weather.
The fucking weather, then... You know,
not good.
And that is all just glossing over, like, the funniest, most extreme example of that is Trump's inauguration, where it's like, dude, this guy literally lies about the weather. Of course, that was 6 years ago, but that's just so funny how it's like, what? Like, that's objective reality, day one. Day one.
And totally all this stuff about, like... climate change denial and being helped along by the media with the stupid fucking two sides to every story. I saw this, whatever, it's like a tweet or whatever that goes around the internet that's like, as journalists, it's not your job to like ask people what the weather is like and get their opinion on it. You have to poke your head outside the fucking window and figure it out for yourself. Like, it's all this two sides stuff. It's like the other, you can clearly see if you go... if you put your head outside the window, the people who are saying it's not raining when it is, why would you even talk to them? They're totally illegitimate sources. They're not a good source for these stories. So why the fuck do you keep asking their opinion? Objectively, these people don't know what they're talking about climate change because it's not a matter of opinion. Like,
yeah, it's like equally platforming creationists and
God did it. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, I was gonna say, and evolution believers. It's like, or I mean,
understanders.
Fact,
yeah, fact.
Fact supporters. But there's gonna be a lot of burps on the podcast. That's gonna be my trademark. Is I'm gonna drink a 0 sugar strawberry apple venom energy drink and just burp
Morty.
for an hour. Yeah. Yeah, they really stopped doing that on that show.
Thankfully.
Yeah. So,
you know what?
And I wonder, since we're dipping our toes into being so meta on this first episode and talking about what we actually want to do with this podcast, that's my back and forth. Okay, you know what?
Oh, I like that.
It's, since we are going, okay, let's talk about our goals right here and right now, because there was an idea, at least in my head, of, hey, don't expect anything from it. I know it takes a lot of work to get people to listen to your podcast, and it's a way for us to have a scheduled session. We talk together all the time.
Intentional time.
Might as well, intentional time. And it's like, and whatever comes of it, comes of it. But also, on the other hand, you have a burning and aching desire to somehow become a part of the online leftist community solely in order to meet Hassan Piker.
You can't say that. Now I look like a simp.
You are a simp.
Oh,
how
fuck,
about
that's
we
right.
remain truthful on this podcast?
But it's only for his own good.
Yeah.
That makes me sound sane, right?
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to make sure that boy doesn't become an incel.
It's because he just needs someone who gets him. Who can...
Yeah,
We'd be good friends. That's what I mean.
You don't sound like a future abuser.
No, it's because I want Comic-Con. It's my goal in life.
The goal of meeting Hassan Piker is a funny goal. But also it just turns... your goal of fucking Hassan Piker in his $3 million home.
No, I imagine him coming to my house. He would love my house, and you would agree with that because it's a great house.
Your house in Washington. So we'll just bleep that out.
It's just a tiny little house. He'd be like, "What a dump."
So that if we finally end up getting even 100 listeners every
People
week, by the
stalking
time
me.
Yeah, by the time people realize how rabidly socialist we are, you don't have Jordan Peterson fans stalking you.
I would love it. I'd love the opportunity to confront some of those guys.
Oh, I know.
I don't have a gun, but I am a big, tall woman, and guys are scared of that, I think.
Say, I don't have a gun,
guys like that.
But I could fire some shots, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, come on! All right, let's keep it going.
Hey,
yeah. I would like to meet Hassan because I think we'd be
another
friends.
Mass shooting. No.
Oof.
Going back to, here we go with these tangents where I'm already off the rails.
It's a tangential
podcast, by the way.
Duh.
I'm the boss.
Yes.
I am the
This is
man.
a hierarchy, and I'm supposed to fight against you? Fuck you! And I just hang up.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, fine, I'm not sending you my audio,
I'm a communist, you idiot.
Yeah. But, so I wonder...
I would like to, a goal is getting out communist ideals and or at least anti-capitalist ideas out there for people to Kelsey was saying, at least people like should have a choice. Like giving her all this information that I've been able to, and then the other night, like making a really persuasive like argument. It was just like I could totally see just a breakthrough, a veil of like, oh my God, I get it. Not because I persuaded her, but because I laid out all this information where it's like, not persuaded her like in a malicious way or whatever way, it was just persuasive because it was the reality. Like, it's like you have all of these things come together to just show you the truth. And that's what it is. Not that, communism or socialism in all these exact ways is what it is, but at least about capitalism, it's objectively true what it has done and like the system of oppression and all that. And like being able to see outside of capitalism, like that's what it was about. And she was saying just how, I mean, like it was learning. I mean, becoming not ignorant about a certain subject. It was really cool to be a part of, for one thing. And that's just the fair thing for people to be able to have access to information. So getting it out in the ethos, and even if only one person hears it or whatever, if it ever does get out there, that's good for me. I'm wanting to be a part of this. There's always going to be progress, and there's always going to be people pushing forward. And I want to be a part of that. I don't ever want to be on the wrong side of history, because progress is the way and optimism is the way. And the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice. And even if that's not true, even if everything is meaningless, it's way better to have a positive attitude, just objectively also, because life is a lot better and things do get better. That's why they're not exactly the same as ancient Egypt.
Meaningless.
Especially
exactly. If everything's meaningless, it's like you only have these 75 years or whatever. It's like, why not make it better? Or die feeling like you were trying to do something, even if, I don't know.
And it does feel good to help people. It is just true that it feels good to watch other people be happy. So why not do that then?
Yeah, I guess if you're like, you have empathy and stuff. No, but
ew, gross, no way.
It's truly, disheartening how the American progressive community, needs to be so much more anti-capitalist. Like it's like we went down the road of neoliberalism, like, and so much. It's like people need to understand the failures of capitalism, and down that road you can take different approaches that you think. You could be an ANCAP weirdo and just be wrong in everything you do and think.
Because you're stupid, probably.
You could go down the socialist road, because you're smart and probably really good looking,
obviously, sure.
So,
and then there's...
It's like, but just going, the way that, it's like if you're progressive, so you want, what's it called? Progress, It's
what's
like,
that? What do you mean?
It's like, why is the idea of great sweeping systemic foundational change such a bad idea? It's like so many progressives, they really are, either they're just not progressives and they don't realize it.
Yes, that's what it
centrist isn't even a thing. It's just, or
they're
just, I'm saying they're pussies is what they are. So
no, pussies are great things. Don't ever talk bad about pussies.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of liberals that I would totally, no. It's like, I'm not trying to completely destroy my chances with people that can be turned. No, but you know what I mean. They're cowards is what it is.
They're ignorant. A lot of people are just really, really ignorant and indoctrinated into with all this propaganda. That's what it is. Like, people are...
And not cowards in like a really, like, I mean, that's why I say, like, pussies is such, I don't know what better colloquial term for cowards that aren't, because it's that thing that, like, Philosophy Tube described, that I wish I was so much smarter, just in general, but that subconscious, purposeful ignorance, because you don't really want to think about something hard, and you don't realize that, you don't realize that that's why you're forming the opinions that you have, is because of like a like an introspective cowardice. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, things are easy enough that you don't like. That's just what centrism is. It's like you don't have an ideology. Progressives, and so progressives in the United States, like, if you're just saying, like I'm saying, centrism just isn't a thing. They're either like you know, actually progressive and want change, or they're
Progress.
just neoliberal cucks, you know, where it's just like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're just either accepting that. I mean, too many people just accept that, like, economics is capitalism. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not
Because
really
why would
you know,
they
their
know
fault.
different though?
I
Yeah.
mean, I should re-rent that economics textbook
Mm-hmm.
that we went over. I had to return
Yeah.
it, but it's
Ridiculous.
just the when the underlying assumption that the way that the world works is capitalism, it really skews every
Yeah, what a
like
biased perspective.
ideological decision you make. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy for that to be glossed over because that's how, you know, I mean,
Because
that's
that's
how
the
it
way that
works.
it is. Yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah,
it's what it's.
but it's like people who are like centrist, why that's like something that's really promoted, like compromise and being um like I don't know, like not standing up for your beliefs kind of. I think like being able to see I don't know. You know, in that book, Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's a really, really influential book. It's like
Hmm.
started self-help stuff. One of the examples he uses is about how gracious Robert E. Lee was after losing the war. And it
World
seemed,
War One, yeah.
yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And like
After
a
losing
war
the
fought
Spanish
really,
American War.
yeah, like fought on like these principled things, especially in retrospect, like horrible racists. I mean, like beyond racist, you know. And then you're like complimenting his
He
like
was so
graciousness in it,
gracious.
yeah, in losing. And it's
Ugh,
like, so that's what you're like
fucking
teaching
freak.
people is to be. It's like, and I kind of can see, you know, where it comes from, like seeing good in everybody, kind of, but like that's not the point you're supposed to take away from some
But
of
it's
these
setting a
things.
baseline in the
Yes,
wrong place.
yes, yes, definitely. And it's just
Yes.
about
Yes.
not being too extreme, like about things where you can't just be like, no, he was a horrible racist and there's nothing good to say about him and he does like fuck him
Yeah.
is exactly what you should say
He
about
can
some people
burn in
because that's
hell.
like, sorry that you were born of those times and that you fucking sucked, but you sure did. Like, I mean, that's just the truth. So,
Sucks to
I don't know.
suck.
Sucks to suck. And a lot of that would probably be just willing to put up with a lot of white supremacy too. Like that's a thing about not being too extreme because then you have to do that because then you're eventually going to be faced with this thing that you're trying to block against because you engage in cognitive dissonance every single day because you don't want to have to face the reality about white supremacy shaping our culture and the patriarchy and everything
Yeah.
because then once you know, like Kelsey said about the other night, she's like, once you know, there's no going back. Once you have these understandings, like, and yeah, people are resistant to it. She had been resistant. We'd had some arguments about, you know, like shitty bosses and like what people are owed and all this. And she was like pretty capitalist hog. I mean, I've said it before now to her, like now that she's like, oh my God, I can so
You
totally
call her a
see.
capitalist pig. Yeah.
Yeah. And
You
it,
pig
but
dog.
because she was afraid to feel like a piece of shit too for like being
Hmm.
involved in this system because there is a lot of guilt that goes along with perpetuating this. But it's like, well, if you're ignorant, you're ignorant. I mean, like what can you do? You can never know what you don't know because if you did, then you would know it. But and there's just
What
a
is
lot
it
of
cannot be.
exactly, yeah. A lot of our culture is like promoting these centrist ideals and like quote unquote centrist ideals of like seeing both sides and all that bullshit, where it's like, no. For one thing, there's more than both sides. There's like a million sides, but
the promotion, it's half and half though. I was being a little over the top, but because also, I mean, part of it is, okay, you've got people who have the privilege and ability, like us, to sit around and fucking talk about politics or whatever.
Philosophers.
Modern day philosophers like ourselves.
Call me Socrates.
Yeah, because I'm so crates.
Yeah. Swing and a miss.
I'm trying to figure out some sort of so great thing. Call me Socrates because I'm so great.
It still doesn't make sense. No.
It does if you read it. But
this is a podcast.
Yeah, this is literally a podcast for the blind who haven't not been listening. Oh, what was I saying? Okay, so you've got people that are even in this position in the first place. That's what I kind of get upset about. It was already a myopic take of mine, calling centrist pussies. It's like, it's
willful
just this little
ignorance is what you're thinking of.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean, but then there's also people that are like that because you don't have the privilege of the time to even consider this shit.
Yeah.
Because you're working 60 hours a week, because you're an immigrant raising a family.
Because you had a shitty education in America.
Yeah, or you're just, some of the masses that are purposefully, like I said, reading through that economics book, it's like, geez, I mean, you would just take it all for granted if you hadn't been radicalized on transgender bread tube already or something. Mm-hmm. And then there's also, the other side of it, what I was thinking is centrism and this compromise being promoted simply because compromise and centrism is a way of slowing progress, incremental changes, so that, and the people that really like slowing progress isn't just because there's weirdo conservative Mike Pence types, but because capital owners hold on to their capital. The less change there is, they're already in a position to have their wealth, regardless of whether they're in a position to grow it even further. They, systemic change, wild things that aren't compromises that slow everything down, only serve to give them more risk, or they have a chance of losing their capital. Because in bourgeois society, therefore, the past dominates the present. In communist society, the present dominates the past.
Yeah.
In bourgeois society, capital is independent and has individuality, while the living person is dependent and has no individuality.
Did
Did you
just make
That's
that
right.
up?
Yeah, that was me. My name's Marl Karks.
Marl Karks, how the hell are you?
My name's Marl Karks. I looked up.
What?
You know what?
I was on Wikipedia the other day.
I was going to say? No.
Yes.
So we were talking
Sandwiches.
about Capital Volume 1 and how it's like, that would probably be so interesting, and a lot of it would be really boring, and it's like 1,000 pages long.
I'm a fast reader.
Reading the Communist Manifesto is easy, but like Capital would be interesting because it's actually about capitalism, and capitalism's the best, as we were just saying.
Well, sure.
So, I mean, Karl Marx was just a big cheerleader, such a cheerleader of capitalism. He wrote a 1,000-page love story about it.
Where he was like, this is the way it should be. The only way.
Yeah. He's
that
like,
we
all
can
these
possibly
problems,
think about things.
that's the fucking way it goes, all right?
Shut up. This is the way it's supposed to work.
Factory workers being exploited. He was like, sit down! That's how he talked.
Yeah.
I got it. Now what do I do with it? No.
Marl.
Marl Karks, yeah. No, Karl Marx, he was a socialist, but...
Yeah.
No, but...
what a weirdo.
So, anyway, we were talking about Capital, Volume 1, and then so I look it up, I was like, is there is there an audiobook? And so I look up and I'm like, okay, there's one
And it's
audiobook
read
on
by Karl
Audible.
Marx.
Yeah, it's really grainy and scratchy. It's like, yeah, no, but
There's like piano
no,
music in the
actually, the one audiobook, I was like, wow, here it is. Here's an audiobook. Oh, it's $15 or something like that. Oh, and it's in German. I was like, great, cool, thanks, Amazon.
So we're gonna have to learn German.
So,
okay.
yeah, so now I have my German audiobook. And then but that only translates to Spanish. I'm like, well, I don't sound Spanish. No, but so then I looked at the next one, and when I realized there was an English one, I was like, oh, this is about the book, like some sort of book about capital and its impact on economics or some bullshit like that. Who cares? But
yeah,
the very
important.
first thing in the Amazon Audible description, his name was spelled wrong. It
Oh
was
my
Karl
God.
Mark. Is it Mark? And I was like, what? I was like,
Karl
are not.
Marx is wearing sunglasses.
It really makes you think again about the kind of online leftist bubble that we're in, where when you take a step back, it's like it really isn't a huge segment of the population like you think. When I
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
when I saw
ignorance.
the Fox News Chiron with Kilmeade or someone complaining, fear mongering about socialism and how it's like, man, this is the one time I wish that fear mongering Fox News stats up behind him were actually true, where it's like 60% of millennials and younger want to vote for a socialist. It's like, yeah, fucking right. I wish.
If only.
Like, I don't know. Maybe people would answer yes to that on a national scale. I doubt it. And if you live in a red area like I do, that doesn't sound plausible at all.
At all.
I probably personally know people here that would lynch a black person before they'd vote for a socialist.
But a lot of millennials live in cities too. So if you're taking it from cities where most people are, which is where the people are, then maybe you could get that
Plus,
sort of skewed
I
result.
wondered
But
how
also,
they even
I
get
think
those
that,
statistics. What millennials answer the phone?
Yeah,
So,
good point. The ones in their 40s.
it's like these people, they're like, sure, I'm a millennial. I'm 1,000 years old.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. Yeah, but also, you know what? People wouldn't.
I was vaping.
Yeah, I thought so. People
Okay, you know what?
You know what? People wouldn't really. Well, they do, and they have, and people are awful and racist and can do horrible things like lynch people and blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, let's just gloss over that. No, but really, on a one-on-one basis, people do, and it is true, we help each other. That's how we have been able to get to this point. That's how we have nuclear plants. That's how we went to space. Everything that we have is because we work together despite capitalism. Like, because we have, for most of our existence, I mean, like, we're working together without capitalism, like, in a true, like, the sense that we have it now, because we've been... the Industrial Revolution wasn't that long ago, Egypt wasn't that long ago compared to how long we've been alive as a species. And like, it's just true that we are social. We're primates. Like, it's just objectively true. So there's so many critiques of capitalism, but it just works against our human nature. Like, we work together. It's in the things that we say. Two heads are better than one. All of these from all these cultures all around the world about working together. Yes. And capitalism is pretty much just diametrically opposed to that. It's about being in competition, which means you are not on the same team. Like, you're not in this together if you're in competition.
Anything that it's like by its nature, it's accepted and known that, like, economically speaking, capitalism is designed with a goal would be to have a monopoly. I mean, ever never-ending expansion and trying to collect more than everyone else does seem kind of antithetical to our nature.
And that's why billionaires become so fucking weird. So weird that they don't, like, legitimately do not care about how their choices and their power and all that impacts other people. Jeff Bezos could have given every single one of his 900,000 plus workers a $100,000 raise, like after the, during like 2020 or whatever, and still been as rich as he was before the pandemic, which is obscenely rich. And it's like, and he won't, and he knows that. And he won't do anything, like anything at all, to where people are like, people are homeless in Seattle, like where, Bill Gates and all these guys, it's like, it makes you just, obviously you don't care. Otherwise you wouldn't be a billionaire.
Well, even besides moral weirdness, it's like surface level. They're all fucking weird. It's like, it shows how, the fact that the rich, the ultra wealthy, it's just an accepted fact that like, that's why they're so not relatable. And it's not just because their life is so much different, but also there's something else there. You're probably onto something, some sort of pseudo psychology thing that's probably right, where it's like, that's why, like, you look around at like American billionaires, it's like, how is Mark Cuban the most relatable billionaire? Because that guy is not relatable. He's weird. He's cool for a billionaire, but it's like, you look at even outside of just like relatability or this and that, how just weird as a person someone like Trump or Bezos or Elon Musk, how they are. It's isolated. Like, it's like even if they hung around working class people all day, there's something to that level of disconnect from the normal machinations of society and the economy and how it works, like isolates you.
It's like you've gotten out of capitalism, and that's the goal. Is to get out of capitalism. Because it's a terrible system that oppresses people.
It's like I don't have to deal with working for wages. It's like, wow, that's the goal? Is to not be a worker anymore?
And like, there's that tweet that someone was like, if there was a chimpanzee that was hoarding bananas and like, while all other chimpanzees were starving, we would study it. Though also it was like the other chimpanzees would probably fucking kill it or drive it away.
Stop. Oops. This will be weird on the podcast, but man, sometimes it's really cutting out. Let's see and now it's good. I don't know. It sounds really funny, though. I wish I could include some of that, because it's like, you know what it is? It's really... I
hope it records like that. Oh, my God.
No, I think it's just Discord.
Oh, that would be so funny.
What were you saying?
Oh, just about chimpanzees, that if there was a tweet...
Yeah, I definitely didn't know that's what you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. That if there was a chimpanzee that was hoarding bananas bananas as the example, food, while other ones starved, we would study it. But also, those other chimpanzees would probably kill it or drive it away. Like, that wouldn't happen. But with humans, when someone does that, we put them on the front cover of Forbes magazine. That's what this tweet said. And I was like... Exactly. Like, we idolize people who are so incredibly selfish, totally self-centered, which is, I think, antithetical to how humans are.
You idolize people that are literally taking from you. You're a worker. These people are taking from you. They are taking your time and your labor and time that could be spent with your family goes to them. Like, just literally just taking from you to enrich themselves. And it's just accepted as the system. And on top of that, you get people who, like you said, idolize that. Where it's like, they want to make them president or suck their dick on Twitter about some fucking tunnel that they made in Las Vegas.
Dale Carnegie in that book also pointed to one of the Rockefellers as an example of like graciousness and like because it's about how to win friends and influence people. So there was a union strike and it was going on and on and on. And he finally goes it might have even gotten violent.
Hold on for a sec. How about you turn off your video stream? I think will help. Okay. So, because you can't see me anyway. Another little a
That's
peek
true.
behind the curtain.
Oh, I said turn off
How
camera.
long is this
Okay.
going? Let's see. I still have it on measures
It's an hour.
on my end. Wow.
It's an hour. Yeah.
An hour and 40 seconds. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What were you saying? Dale Carnegie.
Oh, yeah. About another example in that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Rockefeller's, I forget exactly details, but I know, I could look it up and prove it. I'm not totally talking out of my ass. There's like a union strike, and it might have even gotten violent, like things aren't getting done. So he goes to visit them and talk to them and explain to them how he has a responsibility to shareholders and blah, 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 until they finally calm down. And he's the good guy in this situation. And that's like just a little example, but also a really big example. Like Dale Carnegie and all those things, a lot of people would have read those books, and like the inherent, obviously pro-capitalist message in that, the white supremacist message in that, like it just really shows how incredibly deeply ingrained it would be in our society to be pro-capitalist for sure, being like, guys, these rich people have to make more money. Sorry. And then being like, oh, wow, what a guy. What a cool guy. He really made that message, blah, 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 blah. It was like, ugh. I didn't read the rest of the book because I was kind of disgusted by it. But there was other good information, but... well,
we're all roped
about
into
how to
this
communicate,
Ponzi scheme because that's why, like, you have to end up supporting it anyway when it's the only system that you're in. If it's not changing, then it's like, well, on one hand, it feels like the ongoing normal thing of the top priority in our economic system, no matter what, is do whatever is best for the shareholders. Regardless, everything else is second priority. Like it's like the law, like you have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for the shareholders of a corporation. And it's like, yeah, and we're all roped into that because it's like, yeah, I have, like, without that, my retirement's gone. Then I am working for the rest of my life until I die. And it's like, and maybe, like, things that prop up, even, like, public schools and colleges are, like, invested into things like this. We're all roped into this together. And so that even more so, these people with all the resources have us by the balls because it's like, yeah, they got our nuts in a fucking vice, you know what I'm saying? Got us by the short hairs, if you know what I mean. Yeah, they're real short, super short hairs. Right? Like I got a problem. Everyone's like that, right? They got super short, bristly hairs on their balls. But it's like, anyways, going back to, right? You know what? We're at like an hour. I was going to say, and that's what Carlos Maza said, and I don't know where that phrase comes from, though, but he was saying, like, how he hates YouTube and all this kind of blah, 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 blah. But using the master's tools to dismantle... Oh, like as a company? Because of how they... because of how they responded to, like, Steven Crowder harassing him and, like, how... shitty of like they take advantage of their, because they're a gigantic corporation. Of course they fucking suck, but in what, different ways. But he was saying using the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. He's like going to flood YouTube's airwaves with like communist propaganda and leftist, information. And that's something that, like I was saying before, like that's kind of a helpful point about this is to get things out there. And I think that you and I do have a good perspective on things because of like, because of our parents being from Seattle. Yeah, white privilege, though. Seriously, though, being aware of it. Living in a rural community like we do, or we did, and... like I do. And like you still do. But being well-educated, maybe not exactly just higher education, but being well-read and with interesting parents with different perspectives from the people around us already. And I think it can be a really helpful perspective for some people who... in rural America, especially agriculture America, because I have a lot of love and respect and all those kinds of things for these people in these communities. Like I have a lot of compassion and I want more for them too, because they're being oppressed. Like I don't want, like, that's what I was making to Kelsey about, like, I was like, there's no way that Jeff Bezos works harder than your parents. And it was like, really like, oh fuck. Yeah. Like
what the fuck? And definitely not 200 billion times harder. Like, how does this even make sense? She knows her parents work incredibly hard, had this business with 5 kids, working, all the time. And seeing and how much she hates how hard they've had to work. And I'm like, that's because of capitalism and because of people like Jeff Bezos being able to take advantage of the system, because that's what happens with blah, 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 blah. And being able to bring that perspective and our perspective of growing up, like in church and having, all these things about talk about the master's tools to dismantle the master's house, like using Christianity to turn Christians pro-LGBTQ, IA+.
There needs to be a bigger leftist Christian movement in the United States.
Yeah.
For
and
sure.
I really definitely, this is about a large tent because it's about understanding the system that gets people to think ways that are oppressive to other people, People that are racist, it's like if you understand systemic racism, you'll understand that people have been taught that too. They're not racist because they're a huge piece of shit. They're racist because of systemic racism. Like you have to have compassion and understanding for people to start with because
sure.
Because that's the only way you can. I'm not saying be, just dismissive of and like blatant. I mean, I think you know what I mean, but just
but
understanding where people come from.
I want to use this podcast to create more of like a terror
hostile?
cell. Yeah. No, I'm calling for the mass murder. It's like click, then it ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm against riots or violence that's how rights have been won. That's how it's happened with revolutions because you're not listening to reason, motherfucker. We're giving you a chance. We're saying we're going to camp out. We're going to not do anything violent. But if you're not doing anything, then what do we owe to you?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And what are we
but
here for?
I'm saying, like, I'm trying not to be gatekeeping. I'm trying to be this Comic-Con person that brings us together because we'd all be friends. And that's what I think. That everybody inherently sort of likes other people. No matter how, people can have their boundaries about how much time they want to spend, introverts and whatever. But people are like, you see it all the time. People jumping into rivers to save total strangers. People totally risking their lives, being incredibly selfless all over. You can see examples of this, that's what people do. So really focusing on that aspect of human nature, because that is our strength. Like coming together and being able to work together is how we went to the moon. That's how we have all the technology. One person or one line of, a family line couldn't have come up with anything. We had to work together. Like we are so incredibly powerful as a species.
The internet wasn't created by one man.
Yeah, nothing, like no man is an island.
Men, no
like,
women.
It was duh.
It was Bill Gates and Al Gore, and that's it. Okay?
I was just going to say that. We all know
the first emperor of the moon, Al Gore.
Good for him. Yeah.
And that's there's
Anyways.
something. There's probably a way that you could make the turn and make an argument for the attitude of I hate people. Like I hate people in general, because that can be a relatable thing. Or if you're someone like me who works in customer service, that could be a relatable thing. Yeah, no, but even if you think it's only because, in a roundabout way, it's because of capitalism. Because how you've experienced it through these enforced hierarchies that ruin your life, or because of your wage slave job that you have, or because people have personally wronged you at every turn and you think that people are bad. The reason that they've wronged you almost every time, with the exception of crazy stuff, is capitalism. And and even the insane people, insane lone wolves that might have ruined your life, the reason they didn't get the help they need is because of capitalism too. So there we go.
Absolutely. It is absolutely that. It keeps us from doing good. Because I was thinking about the chimposium that was at Central, that they shut it down, where the chimps there speak sign language. Because they shut it down, they had to be moved or whatever, because of lack of funding. And it's like, So that's what comes down, that's what things come down to. It doesn't matter. The morality of things is less important than money because it has to be. That's the whole point of capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
is that number one. And when you start thinking about what it means to be number one, so what is that? Number two is love. I mean, like, that comes after. That is less important in order for survival. Like, some of these things that actually make people's lives worthwhile are lower down on the list, which is really fucking shitty. Because you know why people have bad interactions with other people? Because everyone's so fucking unhappy. When you come across a happy person who's able to live their life in a way that's satisfying, you can't really hate them. Like,
Except
people
out of
really
envy. Because
people
of
really
where they are in
respond.
the capitalist system compared
Because
to
you're
you.
projecting and all. Yeah, exactly. But like, we really, really enjoy seeing people happy. Like, when you see a happy person, they seem like, the thing about like glowing from the inside out and beauty being from the inside. That's
children.
happiness, and I think it's totally true. Just like a pure thing that we can recognize, and that's like ultimate what beauty, I think, is. And that's why people you get to know more, pretty, like, if you love someone, you like pretty much can't see their flaws. You can see what they look like, but it's never ugly. Like, you just like love them. You think they're beautiful. And I think that's what a wonderful thing. And it helps everyone to feel like people feel that way about them. And it's all of these things that, if we're in this together, it seems just so much healthier for all of us, because we need each other. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't live near each other. And when we don't live with other humans, we literally lose our minds.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I mean,
that sense of community. See, there's part of the plan, is start swapping out talks of communism with talks of community. Because there just aren't many people. I mean, there are people that, I mean, especially through this whole strain of hyper individualism that is America, and it's done a lot for a lot of people. There are people that don't think that community is the right thing. It is about individualism, but a lot of that is just through being part of, the system that breeds that. That's what a lot of things are based on. But for the most part, like you're saying, talks of community, it's hard to argue against. You're just if you're arguing against community, you're standing alone when you do that. Like, nice. That's just true, by definition, and by just kind of popular consent. Consent, is it?
Consensus?
Consensus, yeah. Yeah, popular consent. That's the name of my...
That's my band name, called it.
Yeah, and it's all about rape. No.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a punk band.
I was going to say something. What were you just talking about?
Well, I keep meaning to bring up the fact that we went an hour and never introduced ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Who is this again? Sorry. So it was cross lines. It's been a really good conveation.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I used to think that a wrong number brought this about. But anyway, burn in hell, commie bastard. You'll never
Trump
see a
2020.
revolution. MAGA forever. This is, I'm the leader of the alt-right. But,
cool. Good talking with you.
That is one thing I was thinking about. And shout out to R.M. Brown, our Lord and Savior and inspiration for everything we do. No.
Pretty much. You know what I would say? I would say it is disgusting how much we reference him.
Oh yeah.
Well, I would also say that that is my own sperm.
I would say that going back to what we were previously discussing, everyone always remember
there's no ethical consumption under capitalism.
Yeah, it is harder for a rich man to get through the gates of heaven than a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. So there you go. That's from
And
old JC himself, right? Yeah,
JC,
that
Big
was
D,
Jesus who said it.
JC. Sure.
Yeah, Big D
Sure.
JC.
That's what
I
they
don't
called
know.
him.
He was just, that's why he was hung. Okay, yeah,
Ooh,
but from a cross.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
yeah, all the bitches in Nazareth were like, he's just got that BDE, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
that
It was BGE, the big God energy.
big God energy. Yeah.
It's a can that comes down, bang, big God energy. It's an energy drink.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be drinking on the next podcast instead of zero sugar strawberry apple venom energy.
BGE.
This
Wow.
podcast is brought to you by Venom Energy, and they don't know it.
Venergy. Yeah. Okay, bye. No.
Real come town sign off there. All right, we're
Yeah.
done. Click. Okay, well,
I
that's.
like that. Were you going to introduce yourself, or?
No, let's introduce each other. No.
Okay. To who?
To the. Oh man, see, I'm running out of steam. Man, we talked a lot. So introduce each other to
And I'm stunning out a ream.
the wonderful feelings of heroin. No, Yeah, no, I'm Mug Dorgan. Nah, we shouldn't go with that. I'm Doug.
It's on your. I'm Natalie.
Yeah, okay. You're like, and we say it at the same time, and we're siblings.
Yeah, I was just thinking, are we going to say that we're brother and sister?
It's like, nah, just making people the few people that listen, they're just like, how do these people know each other? Like,
Yeah,
I didn't think
they
I
sound a lot
wanted
alike.
any background information on them, but it's really bugging me.
Yeah. Like, how could they know each other?
I guess
They talk about being from the same place
that's what
or
Washington
whatever,
is
but...
like, I guess. I don't know. I've never been
Yeah, a
there.
bunch of weirdos.
A bunch of Pacific Northwest weirdos. Yeah, you know how
Sasquatch believing fucks.
how outgoing all those people in the Pacific Northwest are. They all just know each other. They pretty much podcast.
Friendly.
Yeah, I gotta get going because I have another podcast to do with the local, cherry picker guy that I met at the gas station. He doesn't speak English, but it's all about
Friendly
that
folk.
sense of community. And
Yes.
I have air conditioning.
There's a lot of that,
so.
especially in Washington State. There's a lot of that, especially between Eastern and Western Washington.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of camaraderie, and people just really feel like they just feel at home on either side of the mountains.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty much the same, just different geography.
Yeah. I live in a desert. Oh, and it's deeply red Republican area.
Like Mississippi over there.
Yeah.
Jeez, my friend from Kentucky said that she was like, there's like more Confederate flags here in Tri-Cities than there is in Kentucky.
Ugh.
Like, it's pretty red over there.
Yeah.
But it's here too, on the west side. But I mean, obviously it's way more so. But there's a lot of other rural communities here that are small, that are full of ignorant people because their schools are funded by tax dollars of neighborhoods that are poor and blah, 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 blah. So
yeah.
it's the same.
It's like there's something to be said for the internet bringing us all together and moving things forward. And it's like, and it also made the South just all of the U.S. that's rural. It's like people speak in a goddamn Southern accent when they're in Washington State because they grew up listening to country music and they hate immigrants, It's like, what?
Yeah, it seriously is like that. It feels like home going to South Kakalaki. Different views, same folk.
Yeah, different.
But we'll change that.
Oh, you said but.
We can change them.
Bye.
We can fix them. Oh.
Yeah, we'll see.
Right.
Or, like I said, we just start a terror cell and start blowing up buildings.
Hey, I'm all down with Planetina's vision. Especially with climate change and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, what do oil executives think is going to happen to them?
Like,
You think you're safe, motherfucker?
I can have an annoying debate with the redneck down the street, but I don't really care. I want you to have free health care. But it's like the
Totally.
But you know, the CEO of
CEO?
the CEO of ExxonMobil, like,
What, did you come down like the 405 to go see him
yeah,
or what?
yeah, I went to the CEO of ExxonMobil's house and I tied him up and cut his nuts off with a rusty machete. Like, that's fine with me
Nice.
too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, because it really is like, so what is it that you guys have done that outweighs all of the horrific evil that you've spread across this entire world, and you're displacing hundreds of millions of people in the very near future with millions of death, blood clearly on your hands, totally a clear path back to the decisions that you've made and the science you've chosen to ignore. So, like, why is your life worth legitimately anything? Like, you're a dumb, horrible fuck. I hope a lot of these people reproduce, unfortunately, but, like, fuck you. Like, you've killed people.
You believe in people. You believe in rehabilitation.
No, I know.
All we have to do is take
people can change,
reappropriate their wealth,
their funds,
and that would be better. So.
And that is what happens. Like, you force people to, well, you think about prison systems differently and all that, and actually rehabilitate and educate people. And those guys, I think, those are criminals. Those are legit criminals. People who have, like, let people die. I mean, with all, like, oil spill stuff, fire things in
companies.
California. Oh, totally. And, like, using their extreme wealth and privilege to fund whatever, fixing all these messes, and to fund the programs that can help them get better.
Hey,
because I do believe that pretty much everybody can change, except for narcissists.
We talk about representative democracy, and it's like, but, you know, regardless, capitalism makes our country run. Capitalism determines who lives and dies. And so if you're a leader of capitalism, if you're a titan of industry, if you are in control of that, those lives and those deaths are somewhat on your hands. But okay, so let's get going. Let's end with a quote. Speaking of reappropriating these people's shit, you are horrified.
Nice.
Are you done? No, just kidding. If I just turn on you at the end, I'm just like, shut up. No. You are horrified at our intending to do away with private property. But in your existing society, private property is already done away with for 9/10 of the population. Its existence for the few is solely due to its non-existence in the hands of those 9/10. You reproach us, therefore, with intending to do away with a form of property, the necessary condition for whose existence is the non-existence of any property for the immense majority of society. Boom! And to think that
was that Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, Tucker Carl Markson.
Ooh, nice!
Yeah, to think that like was 150 years ago. Everyone, chew on that, all right?
Buzz, buzz, buzz. What? That's on Family Guy, where he like leaves the NPR on for the dog, and he's like, "We talk and you can hear buzz, buzz, like you can hear my voice," and the dog is like scratching at the door so much it like comes down to like his paws come off. It's all the way down to the bone. He's like,
that's really funny. Like, I leave the NPR on for my dogs. Anyway, okay, support your local NPR station.
Definitely $5 a month.
Okay, and
that's what I do.
Bye. I love you all.
And scene. I love you all.
And scene.
Bye.